You ever notice how the best cars? They don't introduce themselves, they don't beg for attention. They just arrive, quiet, confident, like they've been here the whole time and we're the ones late. That's kind of what's been messing with my head lately. Because I swear 2025 is the year that quietly started changing what driver's car even means. Not with loud V8 drama, not with burnout culture, not even with horsepower flexing, but with something way more dangerous. Cars getting smart without losing their soul. And tonight, late highway, windows cracked, that cold air sliding in like memory, I need to tell you about one truck that I didn't expect to like. And near the end, it genuinely surprised me in a way that made me sit back and go, wait, is this what the future looks like? So look. Let's talk about this unbelievable 2027 Honda Ridgeline HD interior and exterior, because I'm going to be honest, Ridgelines have always been the truck equivalent of that quiet dude at the gathering who doesn't talk much. But when he finally says something, everybody turns their head. That's what this feels like. It's not trying to be the loudest thing in the parking lot. It's not screaming alpha truck, it's just built like it knows its purpose, and that's what makes it scary good. Because the first time you see the 2027 Ridgeline HD, especially at night under those sharp streetlights, it hits different. The stance looks more planted, more intentional. Like Honda finally stopped apologizing for making a truck that doesn't need to cosplay as a monster. The front end, it feels more serious now. Not angry for no reason, just focused, like a tool that's been sharpened. And you know what that reminds me of? Old Hondas. The ones that didn't try to be emotional, they were just right. The kind of cars that didn't impress you in a test drive, but 5 years later you'd still trust them more than most people. And here's the weird part. The Ridgeline HD looks like it's built for people who actually use trucks, but don't want to deal with truck problems. That sentence alone should make you pause. Because when did we start accepting that owning a truck means living with bad ride quality, sloppy handling, cabin noise like you're sitting inside a drum, and turning radius like a cruise ship? Why do we pretend that suffering is part of the real truck experience? See, that's what Honda has been quietly fighting for years with the Ridgeline. They've been like, bro, what if the truck could be comfortable and still work? And people laughed. Same way they laughed when Honda started putting VTEC badges on cars that would embarrass engines twice their size. Same way they laughed until they got gapped on a random Tuesday night. You feel me? Now, with this 2027 Ridgeline HD, it's like Honda took that argument and decided to stop whispering it. They're not yelling either. Honda doesn't yell. Honda just proves things. You step closer and the details start doing that thing where you stop looking at it like a brochure and start looking at it like a machine. The lighting design especially, those signature lines, feels cleaner, more premium. Not luxury like, look at me, luxury like, this is the standard now. The body lines don't look overworked. No fake vents trying too hard. No pointless plastic armor everywhere like it's going to war. It's just shaped with purpose. And the funny part is, you can tell they want this truck to be taken seriously in the HD space without losing what makes it a Ridgeline. Because Ridgeline has always been like the truck for the guy who still remembers what a great car feels like. Like some of us didn't grow up dreaming about lifted trucks. Some of us grew up listening to engines, listening to valves, feeling steering. Some of us had grease under our nails before we ever had a credit score. And here's the first thing that made me go, the Ridgeline HD doesn't look like it's begging for approval from traditional truck people anymore. It looks like it's built for the guy who's already confident. And that should make you wonder, what happens when Honda gets confident in trucks? Because Honda confident is a dangerous Honda. Now let's talk interior, because that's where this whole story flips. You open the door and you don't get that cheap plasticky smell of fleet vehicle sadness. You get this modern, sturdy, almost clean room vibe, but not sterile. It feels like a place where your hands won't feel guilty. Like you could hop in after loading lumber, but you could also pick someone up for dinner and not feel like you're driving a work cage. And that balance, that's hard to do. Most trucks either feel like a job site on wheels, or they feel like a nightclub lounge with cue folders. Honda's doing that middle ground where it feels like, yeah, you can live here. And when a car makes you feel like you can live in it, that's when you start bonding with it. That's when it stops being transportation and starts being part of your week. The dashboard layout cleaner. Screens integrated better, not slapped on like a tablet from a pawn shop. Everything feels like it belongs. And you know what I respect? Buttons, actual buttons, tactile stuff. Because if you've ever driven late at night in the rain and tried to adjust climate control on a touchscreen, you know that's how accidents happen. Some engineer in a bright office thinks it's futuristic. Meanwhile, you're out here on the highway like, why do I need 3 menus to warm my feet? Honda seems to get that. They're always the brand that thinks about the actual human behind the wheel. The tired human. The hungry human. The human who had a long day and just wants the car to cooperate. And there's something else. The seating position and visibility feels very Honda, wide view, confident, clear. Like it was designed by someone who's actually driven long distances before, not just simulated it. Now here's a curiosity thought for you real quick, don't lose it. When did comfort become a performance feature? Because I'm telling you, it has. The future driver's car might not be the stiffest, loudest thing anymore. It might be the one that makes you feel most connected to the road without punishing you. That's where this Ridgeline HD starts making sense. And the cabin. If Honda really steps up insulation and materials here, and it looks like they are, then you're talking about a truck that can do highway miles like a proper crossover, but still give you truck practicality. That's basically cheating. Now, I'm not here to pretend this is gonna replace a traditional full-size HD truck for everybody. If you're towing the moon daily, relax. But for people who need a truck sometimes and need a comfortable life always, this thing is like the answer nobody wanted to admit they needed. And the exterior matches that vibe. It doesn't do fake tough. It does quiet capable, which honestly, that's the scariest kind of capable, the kind that doesn't need to prove itself. Somebody is going to watch this and go, yeah, but what about power? What about towing? And yes, those things matter. But can I tell you something personal? I've met too many people who buy trucks for specs and then never use the specs. And I've met too many people who buy a vehicle for how it feels. And that feeling makes them use it more, drive more, explore more. The best cars don't just meet needs. They create moments. And that's what the 2027 Ridgeline HD feels like it's trying to do. Create a moment where a truck isn't a punishment. Where a truck is part of your life without being a headache. And you can almost feel why it exists now. Because life's different. Work is different. People carry gear now. Cameras, bikes, side hustles, weekend projects, kids, groceries, gym bags, toolboxes. Modern life is basically a cargo mission. But people still want something that drives like a car. And Honda has always been obsessed with the drive. Even when they're being practical, they care about the wheel. They care about the feel. That's in their DNA. Here's another little thought to mess with you. What if the best truck for most people isn't a truck anymore? What if the real flex in 2027 is having something that can work hard but still drive clean? Now let's talk features, but not like a robot. More like the little things you notice when you've lived around cars. The storage solutions Ridgelines have always been clever there. Honda is the king of, oh wait, that's actually genius. Like they don't just design a cabin, they design a life inside it. And if they're leaning into the HD idea, you can bet they're leaning into tougher utility too. But again, Honda style. Not loud, not gimmicky, just smart. Now, price and launch timing look, with something like the 2027 Ridgeline HD, you already know it's not going to be cheap. The world's not cheap anymore. But it's also not trying to sit in luxury truck money either. It's gonna land in that zone where a lot of people go, wait, that's actually doable, and that's where Honda becomes dangerous. Because when Honda offers value, the market shifts. And it's funny because Honda does this thing where they wait, and then they drop something that makes you question everybody else. Like the kid who sat in the back of class and then aced the test without studying. That's what the 2027 Ridgeline HD feels like. Now, the moment that got me, the moment I didn't expect, was realizing I'd actually want to do a late night drive in this thing, like not just tolerate it. Enjoy it, because it feels less like a truck and more like a companion that happens to have a bed. I'm picturing it right now, empty highway, 2 a.m., streetlights flickering. That soft hum of tires, your playlist low, coffee cooling in the Q folder, and the cabin is calm and solid and just right. And you realize you're not fighting the car. You're flowing with it. And when that happens, the car becomes a memory machine. It starts tying songs to roads. It starts tying engine notes to certain nights. It starts becoming part of who you are. That's what I mean when I say 2025 quietly changed what driver's car means. Because the future driver's car might not be the most raw. It might be the one that makes you want to drive more, and I never thought I'd say that about a Ridgeline. That's the truth. So now I'm sitting here asking you, and I want you to really think about it, if a truck like the 2027 Honda Ridgeline HD can feel this refined, this thoughtful, this human, then what happens to the whole idea of a real truck culture? Do we finally admit most people don't need drama? They need something that works and still feels alive? Or is there still something about the old rough trucks, the rattles, the heavy steering, the loud exhaust that we secretly miss because it reminds us we're not fully in the future yet? Tell me this. Would you rather drive a truck that proves something to strangers, or one that feels like it was built for your actual life? And see, that's where the Ridgeline HD starts getting under your skin a little. Because it doesn't try to bully you into loving it. It just keeps showing you small, honest reasons why it makes sense. And somehow that feels more powerful than any look at me grille ever could. Like, there's a type of confidence only Honda does. It's not loud confidence. It's not, I'm the best confidence. It's that quiet confidence of a guy who's been wrenching since he was 14. Hands scarred, knuckles split, and he doesn't talk big because he already knows what he built will last. That's what this truck feels like. And can we talk about this thing for a second, because words matter. Badges matter. Some companies throw badges like stickers on a lunchbox, but Honda doesn't usually throw words around. So if they're leaning into HD, it makes me think they've finally decided to stop playing small in a world that is obsessed with big. Now on the outside, you notice it in the shoulders, like the truck's got more chest now. The proportions feel more grown up. And the more you stare at it, the more you realize this isn't built to impress a car meet. It's built for that one guy who actually knows the difference between show truck and working truck. And here is a curiosity thought that has gone annoy some people. What if the future of trucks isn't about being bigger, but about being better designed? Because for years, trucks have been like bigger tires, louder pipes, taller ride height, more aggression. And cool, sometimes that's fun. I'm not even gonna lie. I like a mean stance too. But that era is starting to feel like fast fashion. Like everybody's trying to look the same kind of tough. Meanwhile, Honda's over here like, what if we just make something that actually works every day in the real world? And that's what I keep coming back to, real world. Because real world driving isn't towing 12,000 pounds up a mountain every morning. Real world driving is potholes. Tight parking, rain, kids, traffic, grocery runs. Projects that start as quick job and end at 2 a.m. with you holding a flashlight in your mouth like a caveman. This Ridgeline HD feels like it knows that. Inside, it's got that Honda logic. The kind of cabin where everything feels like it's in the right place because somebody actually tried to use it with gloves on. That matters more than people think. Because a car can have all the fancy tech in the world, but if it feels annoying to live with, you'll hate it in 6 months. And Honda always designs for the 6-month hate test. That's why their interiors age well. That's why even old Hondas with 200,000 miles still feel like they're not giving up yet. And dude, listen, when you've owned enough cars, you stop caring about the first impression and start caring about the 10th year impression. Here's another curiosity line for you. What if reliability is the last true luxury? Because it is, real talk. In 2027, the flex might not be ambient lighting or 38 speaker sound systems. It might be, my truck starts every time and never embarrasses me. That's the kind of flex only grown-ups understand. Now, picturing the Ridgeline HD rolling through a dark highway with that subtle LED signature glowing clean and modern like a calm predator. It doesn't hunt attention, it hunts miles. And the crazy part? That's exactly why it'll win people over. Because truck buyers are changing, slowly, quietly, like the shift happened before anyone announced it. The new truck buyer isn't always the lift kit and mud tires guy. Sometimes it's a dude with a business. Sometimes it's a family man who still wants to feel like himself. Sometimes it's a guy who used to drive an Accord and now needs a bed for weekend work. And that guy? That guy trusts Honda, and that should scare everyone else. The Ridgeline HD feels like it was built for people who don't need to prove masculinity to the world. It's a truck for a man who already knows who he is. And honestly, that's the most rare kind of man now. And here's the emotional part that hit me. This truck made me think about my dad's hands, or my uncle's hands, or that older mechanic you knew growing up who never had clean nails no matter how hard he scrubbed. The guy who smelled like oil and cigarettes and engine heat. Those hands didn't care about trend. Those hands cared about tools. Things that worked, things that didn't lie. This Ridgeline HD feels like that kind of tool. Modern, yes, but honest. And you might not think that matters. Until you've been burned by a vehicle that promised you the world and gave you warning lights instead. So if Honda really pulls this off the design, the interior, the comfort, the capability, this isn't just another new model. This is Honda basically saying, we're taking the truck world seriously now. And when Honda takes something seriously, they don't just join the party, they start changing the music. Now I want you to answer something in the comments. And don't dodge it. If the 2027 Ridgeline HD ends up being the best daily truck for real people, will you give it respect? Or will ego keep you loyal to the old definition of what a real truck is supposed to be? Because listen, the old definition of real truck is starting to crack. You can hear it if you listen close enough, like an exhaust leak you can't ignore anymore. And every year the crack gets louder, not because trucks are getting worse, but because life is getting different, roads are getting worse. Fuel is getting expensive, parking spaces are shrinking, and people are tired. They don't want a truck that feels like a chore. And that's where this Ridgeline HD starts to feel like Honda didn't just build a vehicle, they built an opinion. An opinion that says, yeah, we can make a truck, but we're not gonna make it miserable just to impress strangers. And if you're a real car guy, like you've actually lived with machines, you've cursed at seized bolts, you've had oil drip down your arm at 1 a.m., you know exactly why that matters. Because real car love isn't loud, real car love is commitment. It's loyalty, it's being there even when the car is acting up. But if a truck doesn't act up, if it doesn't waste your time, if it doesn't punish you, that's when you start getting dangerously attached. Now imagine this, you're driving the Ridgeline HD late night and it's quiet inside, not silent like electric cabin spooky. Just calm, you can hear the road but it's not yelling. And you're cruising at speed and everything feels planted and stable like a big sedan. And it hits you, this thing is basically a truck for the guy who still remembers what good steering feels like. Because some of these full-size trucks today, no hate, but driving them feels like you're suggesting a direction and hoping the truck agrees. It's like trying to dance with someone who doesn't want to dance. Honda doesn't do that. Honda makes cars that listen. And if they keep that character in the Ridgeline HD, that's not just impressive, that's rare. Here a curiosity thought that L make you uncomfortable. What if most truck people don't actually love trucks? They just love the idea of being a truck person? Because the idea sells, its identity, its ego. It's look at me, I'm capable. But capability doesn't come from a badge. It comes from doing the work. So if this Ridgeline HD can do 90% of what most owners actually do, and it does it smoother, cleaner, smarter, then why are we still pretending it doesn't deserve respect? Now let's talk about one of my favorite parts of late night driving sound. Not music, not podcasts. I mean the sound the vehicle makes when it breathes. The way the tires hum. The way the engine sits in the background like a heartbeat. Every car has a voice. Even quiet cars. And Honda has always been good at giving their cars this mechanical honesty, like nothing feels fake. The throttle response feels like it's connected to your foot, not to a committee. If this Ridgeline HD keeps that Honda honesty, you're gonna feel it. Especially when the highway is empty and you start doing that thing we all do, where you gently roll into the gas just to see how it responds. And you smile, quietly, alone, like an idiot. That's car love. And I can't lie, that's the kind of moment I didn't expect this truck to create, because Ridgelines have always been the logical choice. But this one is starting to feel like it might become the emotional choice too. And when a Honda becomes an emotional choice, bro, you're in trouble. Because Honda emotional isn't like other brands emotional. Other brands try to seduce you with noise and drama. Honda seduces you with trust. With ease, with it just works, with a weird kind of peace, and peace is addictive. Now think about the people who will buy this. It's going to be a mix, some truck buyers, some crossover buyers, some Honda loyalists who finally want a bed. But the biggest group? The people who don't want to admit they're growing up, because that's what this truck feels like. A grown-up move? And I say that as someone who still loves dumb cars. I still love loud cars. I still love engines that feel alive, like they're about to break something. But there's something about a vehicle that's built to survive life. That hits different when you've got responsibilities. Here's another curiosity line, and I want it to stick. What if the future of driver-esque cars is actually drivers' trucks? Because think about it, comfort, visibility, space, confidence, capability, and if you can still get some joy behind the wheel, why wouldn't it be? Now, I'm not saying the Ridgeline HD is going to replace a sports car. Relax. Nothing replaces a sports car. A sports car is like heartbreak. You don't get over it. You just learn to live with it. But what I'm saying is, this Ridgeline HD might become the new kind of car enthusiast vehicle. Not the flex machine. Not the track toy, the real-life machine. And that's a different kind of passion. So let me ask you something, and don't answer fast. When you imagine the best memories you've had in cars, late drives, long trips, random adventures, were those memories because your car was the fastest? Or because it was the one you trusted enough to take you anywhere without fear?